Welcome everyone to the Multifamily Deal Structuring Monday. Today our guest is Steve Chan. So Steve graduated from California State University, Chico in 2006. He graduated magna cum laude with honors in marketing and general education. So after graduating, he worked for a Pepsi bottling group in San Francisco Bay as a sales rep and later as a merchandiser manager, where he managed over 60 employees. This career progression allowed Steve to earn a sales position in the highly competitive medical device business, where he has won awards as both a sales consultant and a district sales manager. So Steve began his real estate investing career in 2016 with the purchase of 3 single-family rentals. Then in 2019, he became a partner in 529 units in Dallas with Ashcroft Capital. In 2020, he acquired a 29-unit apartment complex in Augusta, Georgia. So Steve lives in Houston with his beautiful wife, Tana, and their 2 daughters, Emberly and Avery. Come on, let's go to the interview. Hi, Steve. Welcome to the first GP Multifamily Deal Structuring, where we will discuss all about your first GP multifamily transaction. Thank you for joining us here in the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so to start with, tell us about yourself.
So I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm originally from California. I've lived in Houston for 6 years. Born and raised in California, in Northern California, and my wife brought me out to Houston. I met her on a weekend trip, and she moved out to California with me for 2 years, and then ended up getting engaged and getting married. And when we got married, we moved down to Houston, and love it. We have 2 beautiful daughters. One's 3 and one's 1-year-old. And for my W-2 job, I manage a medical device sales team. So I have 8 sales reps that work for me. My background's in sales. And on the real estate side, I own 3 single family properties. 2 of them are long-term rentals. And then one of them is a short-term rental beach house in Crystal Beach. And then I'm a limited partner on an apartment complex in Irving, Texas. And then I'm a general partner on a 29-unit property apartment complex in Augusta, Georgia.
Oh, nice. That's cool. So then, how did you end up in multifamily?
I ended up in multifamily because I joined a local real estate group in Houston that taught both single family and multifamily. And I thought I would get my feet wet by learning single family first and then jumping into multifamily. And it worked, but I think I could have gone straight to multifamily and just skipped the single family step. But I'm kind of like a lot of people, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, joined the educational group, started off with single family, got the bug for multifamily. And so I bought my first single family property in 2016. And then it's 2020 right now, October 2020. And it just like I started studying multifamily books, reading a bunch, and it became like a passion. Just like most people that you and I network with a lot of people, it becomes like something that you're thinking about all the time. And your friends become multifamily operators, and you start reading books, and it just kind of evolves. And now I have a decent real estate portfolio, but it all started with just one single family property in 2016.
Yep. Yeah, same here. Like for me, I started with the book, The Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yep, everyone reads that. Yeah, everyone reads that first. Yep, it's all about mindset. I mean, still most of the stuff that I read is about mindset.
Yes, I agree. Then I guess let's talk about your first deal in multifamily. Then how did you get this? What's the source? Is it like from a broker or direct to seller?
Yep. So it happened because I think real estate's all about networking. So I'm now a part of a coaching program, and the deal that I'm in, there's 4 general partners, and 3 of us are coaching students, and the 4th partner is we all share that same coach. Mm-hmm. And so one of the partners had 3, or I think it's 3, might be 2. He had single family properties in Augusta,
Yes.
And he was already working with a property manager. And so the property manager told him about this apartment complex because the property manager knew that he had hired a coach to help him evolve his real estate portfolio. And so he got it under contract and then realized that just like we all do, multifamily investing is a team sport. So based on the suggestion of our coach, brought in me and then one other coaching student, and we helped basically close the project. We did due diligence on it, and then we each brought in capital, and now we're all managing the property together.
That's nice. That's nice. Then yeah, so this property is the one in Augusta, right?
Yep.
Oh, no, that's nice. Then
Yep.
then how many units is it?
It's 29.
29 units. Then this is like a class A, B, C, or
It's a Class C property, but the
C
thing I
property.
like about it most is it's in a Class B area. It's in
nice.
kind of the heart of Augusta. It's between Somerville, which is a really nice Class A area, lots of historic mansions, and then that's 2 or 3 minutes away, up on the hill. And then if you go down towards the medical center in downtown, that's about 5 minutes away. So it's kind of like smack dab in the middle of Augusta, and it's just the location is perfect. So Class C asset in a Class B area.
Yeah, that's good. Like even if you can kind of change the tenant to like a Class B, then you can really bump up the rent.
Yep,
that's
nice. That's exactly what we're doing. A reposition of the property.
Oh, nice.
And I mean, it's pretty early right now. I mean, we closed on it August 28th, and we're doing this recording October 20th. So it's still very fresh for me.
Yeah, that's nice. So what's the story of this property? Like, what's the reason for selling from the sell? Yeah.
So it was owned by just a mom and pop operation. They were self-managing it, and they brought in the broker that we bought the deal from to manage the property. So he came in to manage it, somehow worked out a deal with them where he purchased it from them, and he got a phenomenal deal. Did a lot of just kind of like he did a phase 1 business plan where he got the property functional and clean and fully leased up. And his plan was just to basically flip it. So he bought it and only held it for less than a year. He bought it this time last year.
Oh, wow.
The fall of 2019. Put quite a bit of money into it in terms of Capex. Got it leased up, and then sold it to us. And now we're doing essentially the phase 2 renovation plan where we're improving it and making the interiors nicer, and now we're going to start turning the tenant base and really achieving those rents that submarket can generate.
Yep. Oh, yeah. That's nice. Yeah, that's a good flip, because I think a quick turnaround. Then he was able to sell it.
Yep.
That's nice. Then for this property, were you able to get like a T12 rent roll?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we got the T12 and the rent roll. And I know you're familiar with the model we use for underwriting. So
yes,
in one column we put in the 2019 actuals with the old owners, and then I had a T5 from the broker. They had purchased it from them, and then we had a projection column and then the offer column.
Yeah, like do you recall like for the T12 and then say the rent roll, like any kind of red flag that you recall?
Yeah, I mean the expenses were pretty low. We're taught that multifamily apartments typically run at a 50% expense ratio.
Yes,
and they were in the mid 30s, so that was a red flag. It's like what's going on here, and some of the things, like I have my model pulled up right now, so I could just kind of rattle them off to you. Contracting services were really low. They were 2019 $3,200, 2020. So I annualized the T5. So basically I took the 5 months of expenses, divided it by 5, and then multiplied it by 12 to get an annual number.
Yeah.
So the annualized T5 was $2,000 for contract services. We bumped those up to $8,300. Their taxes were low because we had to account for, now we're buying it at a higher price, so we got to account for the higher taxes that accommodate that. Their repairs and maintenance were extremely low. So they had in 2019 their annual repairs and maintenance were $3,100, and we basically took that repair and maintenance budget up to $21,000 per year.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
Yeah, they weren't doing any replacement reserves, so we added in $250 per unit. So we basically underwrote the model with a higher expense ratio.
Yeah, that's nice. Then as long as the number still works. And I guess
exactly. Yes.
Yep. And it will be also like important to our listeners to take note that what Steve mentioned is the taxes.
Yes.
Because some areas there will be like a reassessment on the time of the purchase. Some doesn't have, but I think it's better to reach out to your city or county, basically, like to make sure, like, if the taxes will really go high, make sure you put that into consideration when you're underwriting.
Yes.
Yeah. Then for this property, like what was the original purchase price or whisper price?
So it was originally under contract with a different buyer at $1.4 million.
Okay.
And we found out that it fell out of contract because they couldn't get financing. And we just ended up offering $1.4 million and closing at $1.4 million.
Oh, at least it was able to do the same. Then what was what was the reason why it fell, or is it because of the vacancy or no?
It happened during the pandemic, but we just found out from the broker, who was also the seller, that it was under contract and fell out for financing. But that was the extent of it.
Yep. Then I think you mentioned about that the vacancy, the seller was able to make it to 100% vacant. I mean, fully occupied, or?
Yeah, the economic vacancy when we purchased it was that there was 2 units that were actually not leased, so it was at 93%.
Okay, so around this 93%. Yeah, that's nice. Then how's the financing breakdown looks like for this? Was this like a Fannie Mae, Freddie loan?
This is one of my favorite things about the property. So we got a Fannie Mae loan. So we went straight to agency debt, and we leveraged it at only 65%.
Okay. Wow.
And that's kind of one of like the fundamentals. One of the reasons why people got into trouble in the 2008 recession was that they over leveraged. 80, 85, 90% leverage on their loan, and then they're upside down on their loan. So we went 65%, and we got 5 years of interest only.
Oh, nice. 5 years.
So it what that did is it allowed us to basically it allowed us to model a much higher cash on cash return than most syndications because our debt service is so low.
Correct. Yep. That's a good. So I think so it's 65%. Then what was your Capex budget for this one?
$240,000. So we basically broke it down per unit. I want to say it was $8,000 per unit was the budget. Maybe it was $6,500. I know that we're trying to get $6,500 per unit on the remodel now that we're into it, and we've remodeled 2 units and we've been under budget. But
that's nice.
Yeah, basically just updating the flooring. We're doing the LVP flooring, the white cabinets, so painting the cabinets, new hardware, so it's all that brushed nickel look. Just everyone watches HGTV now, and they all like the white gray. So we're just updating the interior so they're all consistent, the white gray look, and just kind of modernized.
Yep. I think also, like, if you're repositioning to Class B, that would be the new look and feel.
And honestly, I mean, we're not even repositioning to Class B. It's just maybe a C plus, or even just a nice C asset in a B area. And for the exterior Capex, we painted it. So we that's completed already. We did that month one. And the cool thing about that was our property manager is directly across the street.
Oh, nice.
And they bought a camera and they put the camera on top of their building, and then they did a time lapse of the exterior paint so you could see it over the course of the month get painted. That's one of my kind of favorite things about it.
Yeah, I think the time lapse videos are usually cool. I see
Yeah.
I see those like for self storage, like it was from scratch from a building. Then
Oh, yeah.
the time lapse that slowly the building comes into action, basically. Yeah.
And I haven't even seen it yet, so I'm excited about that. And then we put in a laundry facility. So the old office we didn't need because our property manager is directly across the street. So we painted the building the same color as the property management company to make it look like it's one company.
Uh-huh.
And then the old office we turned into a little laundry room for the residents, which I think is really a key factor. I mean, everyone wants to have on-site laundry, so that's going to help us drive rents as well.
Okay. Then for the reserves, like I know Fannie Mae, like during the pandemic, like they were requiring you some reserves. Do you have
6 months?
6 months. Okay.
Yeah, which is actually that's great. I mean, most of them were requiring 12 months, and I think Freddie was even at 18 months.
Yeah. I was surprised also 6 months. Was it because of the low LTV, I guess? Or...
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If we had put more leverage on it, we would have had to go to 12 months.
Oh, that's nice. I guess that's a good idea too. Like I didn't know that. So at least you can probably do a 65% LTV so that your reserve will be lower. That's nice.
Yes, and that was, I think with the economic climate that we're in, with a pandemic and then an upcoming election, that's a very conservative thing to do. So we, that was just the advice of our coach, who has over 2,200 units under management, and again, it's a team sport, so we relied on his knowledge, and he's advised us to do that, and in retrospect, it was a very wise decision.
Yeah, I think that's good. Then did you have like a separate kind of, aside from this reserve, like a rainy day fund just in case you go over budget or some extreme case that something happened on the property?
Yeah, so in the model, so we build that in. It's just a line item called deposit to replacement reserves.
Okay.
So we immediately started that rainy day fund.
Okay. Then how much was the loan interest on this Fannie?
3.77.
3.77.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I guess like it's a 5-year interest only loan. Then how long was the loan? Like the terms of the loan?
So it's a 30-year loan, 10-year term.
Okay, 10 years.
So sorry, amortized over 30 years and a 10-year term. Okay.
So 10-year term, yeah. Then what's the investor split on this? Like when you underwritten it, like is it a 70-30? There's a preferred return, or
nope? So we gave up even more equity, so it's an 80-20 split.
Okay.
No pref.
No pref. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Then so I think you mentioned about the business plan was to renovate it. Are you planning to kind of sell it after 5 years, or planning to hold it?
5 to 7 year hold. Obviously, we would like to sell it. If someone wants to come and make a great offer for us, we would entertain that earlier.
Recall also, like what's the average cash on this one and the IRR?
So I wrote it down. So 14% IRR is our projection. The average annual return is 21%. And here's the one that's kind of unusual. It's the cash on cash. Most times when you see a syndication, you'll see a cash on cash around 6, 7, or 8%.
Yeah.
But because of our loan and the way we underwrote this property, our projected cash on cash is 11%.
Wow, yeah, that's high.
Yeah.
I guess that the 65% really helped a lot. Yep.
Yes.
That's good. Then this one, I guess this is a syndication deal.
Yep.
Yep. Then okay, let's go to the next part of the show. Let's talk about the due diligence process. Like, how does a due diligence look like when you are trying to do? I mean, like the early stage of the purchase.
Yeah, so it was done in two phases. One was when one of our original partners, or the partner that actually got the deal under contract, did the first phase of due diligence himself.
Mm-hmm.
So he flew out to the property with a friend. They walked every single unit. They walked it with the property manager, and just took a general inventory of the property and got an idea of what the Capex budget would be by actually seeing every single unit. And that worked out really well because he was able to negotiate the replacement of all of the electrical panels at the property. So they were old Federal Pacific electrical plant panels.
Mm-hmm.
And after doing his initial due diligence, he was able to go back to the seller and get him to replace all of the electrical panels. So the building's equipped with all new electrical, which is nice. Then when our coach recommended that he bring in help, and I was brought into the deal as well as another general partner,
Mm-hmm.
we flew out to the property and did our due diligence on it. So we met with the property manager. We did an entire tour of the submarket. So I guess that's a good pearl for your listeners, is that we had the property manager take us to other properties that they managed that were close to our property, so that we could get an accurate market assessment. And then he brought us to other things that were really great economic indicators within the submarket, like the cybersecurity center. And he used to work at Augusta National. My personal passion is golf. My company's name is 7 Iron Capital. So I was immediately attracted to Augusta in the first place because of that. But that was the phase 2 due diligence. So we flew out to the property. I brought my drone.
Oh, nice.
And I flew my drone, and that allowed us to see. So they're flat roofs, and we saw some puddling on one of the roofs. And that allowed us to go back to the property manager and have them send a crew to that particular roof to check it out. It's TPO, so it's just basically a plastic. And so if you see puddling, it's not as concerning on a TPO roof versus other types of materials that flat roofs are made of. But
Okay.
it was one of those things where it was smart to utilize that technology, so that we could investigate.
Okay. Then I guess like was the first phase when you're the initial one who went there did the lease audit, or all of you did the lease audit?
Yep. So we all did the lease audit, and I actually put it into an Excel spreadsheet and color coded it. So I did the initial lease audit, and doing that, we found a discrepancy between what the seller was telling us in terms of the deposit amount and what we actually recognized by doing the lease audit. We found a $5,000 discrepancy that worked out in our favor. So going through every single lease, put it into a spreadsheet, and then I annualized it. So I put it into like year 1, year 2, year 3. And then whenever a unit was up, the lease term was up, I color coded that, so that we could easily just take a snapshot and see, in March of 2021, we have 5 units that are going to be, ready for, like, the leases are up. So what are we going to do there? Are we going to offer those tenants a month-to-month lease, or are we going to try to renew them? Are we capable of doing remodeling 5 units in 1 month? So I think that was a really strategic thing that we did, so that we could very easily see where we were at and also get an accurate gross potential income. So like whenever a unit would end, we would take the old rent and we would add in the new projected rent. And that gave us a very, very, very accurate gross potential rent, because it was month by month, every single unit in that spreadsheet. So instead of just saying, we're gonna increase rents, or our rent projections are are going to be off of a percentage, like 1% or 2% or 3%. It's like to the unit, to the dollar on what we think it will be.
That's really good. Like it will be very accurate that
Yes.
on the month by month, okay, this one is leaving, then we'll fix it for maybe 1 month before we can lease it out or something. Then
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like,
to
for
the
example, if one unit was, leased, let's say, like, one calendar year, so we're coming up on 2021, it was at $600 for January, February, and March. Then I underwrote on that lease audit 1 month of vacancy for the remodel, and then the newer rent at $800 for April, May, June, July, August.
5 months.
And so that, and so on and so on for every unit. And then that gives you a very accurate gross potential rent for your complex as you go through a renovation plan.
Yep. And also it will be like a clear picture on your business plan. Okay, so this is the units that we have on schedule, basically, to renovate.
So when we were talking to our investors, and we'd say year 1 gross potential rent is this, year 2 gross potential rent is this, year 3 gross potential rent is this, then we would take them to the lease audit and just show them, and this is why.
I like that approach. Yep.
Yes.
That's nice. Yeah. Then I guess like the property management company walked the property with you, right?
Yep.
I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Both times. So yeah, both rounds of due diligence.
Okay, nice. Then did you do? I guess you also did the plumbing line scoping survey, or no?
We didn't do the plumbing lines only because the cost of that, it was weighing the benefits of that. Like, if we were to actually go pay for someone to scope them versus if there was an actual problem, because it's a smaller complex. It's a 20. It's actually a 28 unit complex with a single family property. So if we were to pay someone to scope the lines versus if we just approach it on, and then the complex is actually it's 4 buildings. So, it just makes more sense that we just pay for the jetting of the lines if it actually comes to that, versus paying someone to scope them and then potentially jet them. We decided it made more sense to address it as it comes.
Okay. Yeah.
The roofs were replaced by not the last owner, but the one in 2019. They're all new roofs. And then, most of the HVACs were replaced by the most recent owner. So a lot of the Capex items have already been addressed.
Yeah. So at least mostly now it's purely upgrading the interiors then. Yeah.
Yep.
All mechanicals are all done. Yeah.
Yep.
That's nice. Yeah. By the way, what I forgot to ask, like, what was the year that this was built in the
it's an older property. I want to say it was 1950.
50s. Okay.
Yeah, it was in 1950s. It's the brick. It's like a brick exterior.
Okay. Then I think we went through also already the discrepancy of the T12. Then I think I guess let's go to the capital raising portion of the show. So how much capital did you need to raise for this deal?
So our business plan. So we only needed $490,000 to actually close, but what we did is, since we went straight to agency, we raised the Capex for the Capex budget as well. So we raised $850,000 total.
Okay, that's nice. Then do you recall like the average investment for the LPs on this?
Yeah, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $70,000.
$70,000.
Yeah. We had a handful of investors come in and invest $100,000 each.
Oh, nice. Then how long did it take, like, for this whole capital raise for this deal?
About 3 weeks.
Okay. Then I guess for the closing, do you how much was the closing cost, like, of the deal?
Actually, let me go back and look. I have my model in front of me.
Yeah. Then also like while you're looking for that, like how long did it take from from the LOI or PSA to the closing for this one?
So May to August 28th. May was the LOI.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. 3 months, around the 3 months
Yeah.
time
June,
frame. Okay.
July, August. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So closing costs were they were 60,500.
60,000. Okay. Yeah, because the reason I was asking that is like usually people are interested to know like how much do they need to underwrite for closing costs, at least
Oh yeah.
based on all the shows. Then they will see like what's the typical closing cost. But I guess like
4.3%.
yep. Oh yeah, because some I know like there is underwriting like okay 3%. So I think better to maybe err on the higher side.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, I guess like we reach the final portion of the show. We see this is the final 5 sizzling questions. So question number 1, any lessons learned that you want to share from deal analysis, due diligence, capital raise, financing, closing?
I put together a presentation called 30 Days to Close. And I did that specifically because things happen so quickly in multifamily. I knew that as time went on, I would forget some of the things that I was going through on those final 30 days to close on your first syndication. I mean, you know about this. A lot of people that are probably watching about this, the biggest hurdle is getting your first syndication done. And it's so challenging. It's so nerve wracking. Mm-hmm. So every day I kept a journal of everything that I was experiencing. And I tracked my statistics. So I tracked in a Excel spreadsheet. Like if I had a text conversation with you, Jefferson, I would put a 1 in that column. If I didn't, then I would put a 0 in that column. Next column, Zoom meeting. If we did a Zoom meeting, I would put a 1. If not, a 0. And I did that with multiple things: Zoom meetings, text conversations, emails. I'm part of a mastermind community called Slack. So if I had a conversation on Slack, mm-hmm. and then I tracked every investor that I talked to. So I talked to 86 investors, and 5 of them invested with me. So that was a 5.7% ratio of people that I talked to versus people that invested. And I just turned it into a numbers game. And that's what I'm using moving forward as a percentage. Like if I need to raise X amount of dollars, I just need to use 5.7% as my conversion ratio and then turn it into a math equation. Mm-hmm. So if I want to raise $3 million, I have to talk to 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. I have to talk to 1,000 people to convert 60 people at 50,000 each to get me $3 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how did you get this number of people that you're talking to? Like, did they subscribe to you early, or is this like families and friends in your network? Or
a lot. So I had it was both. Some of the people were just people from our network. A lot of things that you and I participate in. I always do a Tuesday night call with Julie Peterson. She's from Old Capital, and then I always do a Friday call with Brian Briscoe. He's from Four Oaks Capital, and that's a big networking call. And there's a variety of different people that are interested in multifamily at different levels. And so the people that invested with me that participate in those events are people that are just 1 or 2 steps behind me, where they're thinking about hiring a coach, or they have just hired a coach and now they want to get into a deal as a limited partner and get the behind the scenes look at a syndication. And I'm at the point where I can pay lots of attention to the people that invest with me. So I can give anyone that invests with me a much more deep dive. Like, if someone were to invest with me, or one of my investors, they could call me any day of the week and have a conversation with me, versus some of the bigger operators. They have so many investors that they can't pay attention to them on that level. So I knew that. So some of the people came from the groups that you and I participate in, and then a couple of people were friends.
Okay, that's good. Then anything else that you want to share, or we can go?
I think real estate's all about networking. So
Mhm.
your net worth is in your network. I think that's kind of a key to real estate. I think a lot of people focus on the underwriting, or they focus on on the non-networking aspects of it, but ultimately it's a team game. And so if you want to be successful, find someone that's doing what you want to do, and then learn from them. And then talk to a lot of people along the way. And for me, with my sales background, I just turned it into a numbers game, and I would encourage anyone that's listening to approach it that way as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to also like try to kind of keep track of the conversion, because
Yes.
I learned it also like when I was doing like single family space, so that your KPI is in very important piece, like how many leads that you need to be able to get like an appointment, and how many appointment does it take to convert to a contract.
Exactly.
So similar to you, I guess, like
yes,
how many people you need to talk before someone will basically invest on your deal. Yep.
That was one of the things I appreciated about my background in sales. It allowed me to be intentional going into the process.
Yes, yeah, that's I love that approach. Yep. Yeah, I guess for the number 2 question, it's like any recommended books.
I love The One Thing by Gary Keller. Obviously, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but anyone that's watching this is probably has already read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and that whole series. I like Michael Blanc's Financial Freedom book, the Yellow Book.
Yes.
Ken McElroy's ABCs of Real Estate, and obviously Joe Fairless's best ever book, the big Monster Red book. And also Dave Lindahl's book, Multifamily Millions. I think if you read all those or any one of those, it'll give you a really strong baseline for multifamily investing.
Yeah, I think when I was starting also in the multifamily space, I was reading the David Lindahl's Multifamily Millions.
Yes.
And that Michael Blanc's also, like that was also good, the financial. Yeah. Then, for the number 3 questions, like any recommended podcast, YouTube channel that you're listening to and would recommend?
Sure. I love Tim Ferriss. He's the 4-hour. Have you ever heard of Tim Ferriss before?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. 4-hour work week guy, but he's just a great business podcast. Michael Blanc's, obviously, Joe Fairless's. I listen to a lot. On a personal level, I just like Joe Rogan. I spent a lot of time in the car driving around when I was in sales. So his 3-hour podcast didn't, I had time for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then I guess like for the question number 4, so this is the time to promote yourself. So what's your acquisition criteria for multifamily in terms of location, number of units, class A, B, C, so that this is to let everyone know that and reach out to you if they have any leads or deals that they want to present to you. Yeah.
Well, I'm invested in Augusta, Georgia, and Dallas, and I live in Houston. So Texas and Georgia would be most ideal for me. Anything 100 units or over, C class or B class.
Okay. Then, what's the best way to contact you?
So I think you could reach me via email. So Steve at 7iron Capital. That's the number 7, iron and capital, like the golf club. Or you can reach me at my website at www.7ironcapital.com. And at the very bottom of my homepage, there's a little link to join my real estate mastermind Facebook group. And that's where I'm the most active. So if you go to that link and there's like 3 basic questions that you answer. I'm posting on there pretty much daily. Good, valuable content.
Oh, that's nice. Then I think for the listeners, so I will put also in the show notes Steve's contact information. So if you want to reach out to Steve, then feel free to send him an email or send him in a Facebook message. Or he's also in Facebook. So yeah, so you can touch base with him.
Yep.
Okay, thanks a lot, Steve, for your time and for sharing your experience. So hopefully, like this will help our listeners and also help you as well in getting more deals.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, Jefferson. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, and talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay, bye.